more serious note, Daniel 7. I'm going to try to tie it in, and Adrian, there's going to be a video here, so we'll have to, my director there knows what to do. Earlier, during the first year of King Belshazzar's reign in Babylon, now this is Daniel's dream. This wasn't King's dream. We had those. And this dream relates to Nebuchadnezzar's dream about the soldier. Remember? The 4 kingdoms and the different metals. Metal that their kingdoms were made out of, and the shoes that were destroyed anyways. Daniel had a dream and saw visions as he lay in his bed. He wrote down the dream, and this is what he saw. In my vision that night, I, Daniel, saw a great storm, churning the surface of the great sea, with strong winds blowing from every direction, all from everywhere. Okay? The 4 huge beasts. Now, these are beasts, not a figure made by man, came up out of the water, each different from the other. The first beast was like a lion with eagle's wings. Daniel 7:4, by the way. This goes through Daniel 7 to 27. As I watched, its wings were pulled off, and it was left standing with its 2 hind feet on the ground like a human being, and it was given a human mind. Then I saw a second beast, and it looked like a bear. It was rearing up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And I heard a voice saying to it, "Get up, devour the flesh of many people." Now don't get into the mystical part of this. A bear, ribs. Don't, just read it and then let him explain it to you. Okay? Don't get caught up in the dream itself, but relate it to the interpretation that will come here soon. Then the third of these strange beasts appeared, and it looked like a leopard. It had 4 birds' wings on its back. It had 4 heads. Great authority was given to this beast. Now, every one of these beasts represented power of some kind. Represented a country again. The same countries that we already went over. Then in my vision, I saw a 4th beast, the most terrifying, dreadful, and very strong. It devoured and crushed its victims with huge iron teeth, trampled their remains beneath its feet. It was different from any of the other beasts, and it had, here's a significant little part here, it had 10 horns. These 10 horns come up several places. As I was looking at the horns, another small horn right in the middle came up, and in this horn there were 2 human eyes and a mouth. And this one caused major problems. This little horn, okay? 3 of the first horns were torn out by the roots to make room for this horn. This little horn had eyes like human eyes and a mouth that was boasting. Remember now, boasting, arrogantly, just yelling out arrogantly. I watched as thrones were put in place, and the Ancient One, sat down to judge. Now you know who this was, don't you? Do you know where we're going with this? God, Jesus Christ came back. His clothing was white as snow. His hair was like purest wool. He sat on a fiery throne with wheels of blazing fire. Now I'm going to go into Revelation and read 5 or 6 verses that relate to the book of life, or relate to this relate to millions of angels, and to prove to you and to show you how Daniel introduces Revelations. And a river of fire was pouring out, flowing from his presence. How's God going to destroy the world this time? The world will never flood again. Remember that? Never. How's it going to be destroyed? By some type of fire. Now I believe, and folks, I'm not a Revelation scholar. I'm not an end time scholar. I'm just a biblical guy. I'm trying to make sense of this as much as Jesus wants me to. And you know what? I do not believe that Jesus is going to destroy all this because this was his creation. I think he's going to destroy what needs to be destroyed, take what's left, combine it with the new heaven and the new earth, and off we go, folks. Off we go into eternity. Millions of angels ministered to him. Many millions stood to attend him. How many angels are there, folks? And that you know that Lucifer, the fallen angel, come out of heaven and he took scores of angels with him. So, you know what? Satan is not all-powerful, all-knowing, all-present. Okay? He's not omniscient. But with his many angels, that's who's attacking you. That's who attacks me when I'm on spiritual warfare. Folks, I'm telling you right now, you better dig your heels in, because we're going toe-to-toe with Satan and his angels right now. This country's going toe-to-toe, and Satan's angels are speaking through a lot of people in this country right now. No doubt in my mind. But you know what God said? He that is in you and me is more powerful than he that is in the world. Got that? Don't ever think that you're outnumbered or outmanned or outpowered. You're not. And the court began its session and the books were open. The books were open. This is significant, folks, because you're going to stand, you go before Jesus Christ and everyone's going to stand there. He opens a book and he goes down through it and, oh, Denny Barger, your name's written, if you're a believer and you've accepted Christ, your name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life. I continued to watch because I could hear the little horn's boastful speech. I kept watching until the fourth beast was killed. Its body was destroyed by fire. Gone. This all-powerful nation. And that was Rome, folks. The other three beasts had their authority taken from them, but they were allowed to live for a while longer. Remember, Christ gives them a chance. You can live a little bit longer. You can have an opportunity to accept Christ. It's going to be a horrible, horrible time for you, but you have an opportunity, and some will be saved during the tribulation period. But you don't want to be in that group. You want to be up helping Christ rule. Okay? Okay? I had something else in it left. And 7:13 says, as my vision continued that night, I saw someone like the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient One and was led into his presence. He was given authority, honor, and sovereignty over all the nations of the world, so that people of every race and nation and language would obey him. His rule is eternal. It will never end. His kingdom will never be destroyed, and that's the kingdom of heaven, folks. And I'm going to tell you, people say, well, why is God waiting so long? Why does he not come back? Why does he not end this all? You know why? Because he's waiting for the very last minute to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to be saved. That's why I believe that. He doesn't want to lose any of you, of his people. Every person out there, every one human being was created by God. And people are trying to take creation away. They're trying to intervene and create gene this and gene that, and artificial this and artificial that. There's nothing artificial about Jesus Christ and God. They are genuine. And folks, I'm telling you, man can do what he wants, but God's going to do it, and God's in control. God's in control. Now, these four huge beasts represent four kingdoms that will arise from the earth. And we've already gone over this in a sense. But in the end, there's that but, there's that conjunction, there's that contrast. But in the end, the holy people of the Most High, 7:18, will be given the kingdom. That's us, folks. And they will rule forever and ever under Christ's rule. Now that's a heavenly insurance policy. Then, another conjunction, then, I wanted to know the true meaning of the fourth beast, the one that had Daniel puzzled, the one so different from the others and so terrifying. It had devoured and crushed its victims with iron teeth, bronze claws, trampling their remains beneath its feet. I also then asked God about the 10 horns on the fourth beast's head, and the little horn that came out afterward and destroyed the 3 other horns. What is that, God? Same thing we asked that. This horn had seemed greater than the others, and it had human eyes and a mouth that was boasting. As I watched, this horn was waging, get this folks, war against God's holy people and defeating them. Until, there's a conjunction, until the Ancient One, the Most High, came and judged in favor of his people. Then the time arrived for the holy people to take over the kingdom. That's when we rule. That's when Jesus Christ comes back as the Lion of Judah, conquers the world, and then we're at peace finally. 7:23 says, then he said to me, this 4th beast is the 4th world power that will rule the earth. It will be different from all the others. It will devour the whole world, trampling, crushing everything in its path. You see, Rome wanted to conquer everything. The other 3, they weren't Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece. They weren't as they didn't have this same desire to conquer everything. Rome owned it all. All of the Middle East and Europe, they owned it all. And you know, the 10 horns, those are the 10 kings and the 10 kingdoms within the Roman Empire. Okay? So, and you know where that was Babylon, that was the whole Middle East, that was the whole, and you know what? Alexander the Great was a Christian, he was a Catholic. The Christian, and you know eventually what happened? The Holy Wars. The Holy Wars, where the Catholic-driven papal army decided that they were going to convert the whole world to Catholicism. And they I think they believed they were God, and had his power, and they forgot Jesus. And these people killed the Muslim, they called them pagans. And you know what the pagans are doing now? They're going after Christians, because the Christians went after them. And they're going after us, and it's reversed. And it doesn't feel good, does it? The holy wars were atrocities. They were awful. They were brutal. When you watch the history of those, it was as bad as they were terrorists. I'm sorry, that was not our God. That was not our religion. That was not what Jesus Christ wanted. That was just as power hungry as everybody else, folks. Now, don't go out and say that I'm anti-Catholic. They're not that way now, okay? But they were. And you know, in Rome, there's an empire. And I think they have to be careful. My thought with Catholicism is, you don't need a confession box. You do not need the priest. Jesus Christ said, come to me directly. Pray to me. Confess your sins and you will be forgiven. And he says, go do 5 of this and 6 of that and 8 of this. And no, it's not. Forgiveness is not based on works. It's based on the finished work of Jesus Christ and the cross. Then it's 10 horns or 10 kings, and that's the empire I told you. Then another king will arise, different from the other 10, who will subdue them. He will defy the Most High, oppress the holy people of the Most High. He will try to change their sacred festivals and laws. Isn't that what's happening today? They're trying to take our religion, our beliefs, our teachings, and they will be placed under the control for a time and times and a half. Now, I want to tell you what those times and a half are. Okay? Because Nancy, we get into that, and we discussed that. It's 42 months, folks. It's 1,260 days. It's 3.5 years. And when you get into the tribulation, there's 3.5 years. This is historic. But it happens, it's called the middle of the week. It's called times and half the time. And it's 42 months, folks. Now, the 42 months, I don't know. God's day the same as our day? I don't know that. Well, we put it all on our schedule, and that makes it hard for us to understand sometimes. How can it happen in 24 hours? It's difficult. Don't get hung up in that. But that's what it means. Okay? But then the court will pass judgment, and all his power will be taken away and completely destroyed. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of all kingdoms, that was back in 7:14. Same thing repeated again. Then the sovereignty, power, greatness of all the kingdoms under heaven will be given to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will last forever, and all rulers will serve and obey him. This is what it's all about, folks. It doesn't matter what happens. It's going to be Jesus Christ who establishes the final rule, and it'll be a good place. Now let me go back in Revelation 1:14. It says, his head and hair were white as snow, and his eyes were like flames of fire. That's Daniel 7:9. Okay? His feet were like polished bronze, refined in a furnace, and so forth. And then in 5:11 and 12, Revelations 5:11 and 12, it says, then I looked again, and I heard the voices of thousands and millions of angels around the throne of the living beings and elders, and they sang a mighty chorus, worthy is the Lamb who was slaughtered to receive power and riches. The slaughtered Lamb's coming back with power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. That's what's going to happen. And that is in Daniel 7:10. And then it goes on in 3:5. I skipped the page there. Okay. All who are victorious will be clothed in white. I will never erase their names from the book of life, but I will announce before my Father and his angels that they are mine. You get a stamp, approved by Jesus Christ. This is who I died for. He died for you, folks, so you can get this wonderful, beautiful kingdom. Okay, and verse 20, chapter 20, verse 12, it comes up again. You're getting near a lot of good things in 20 and 21. 20 verse 12 says, I saw the dead, both great and small, standing before God's throne, and the books were opened, including the book of life, and the dead were judged according to what they had done as recorded in the books. So he's got a record up there. It's recorded in the books, okay? Now, in 7:13, in Revelation 7:13, then one of the 24 elders asked, who are those clothed in white? And they're coming in the sky. Okay, so it's over and over again. Then he said to me, they are the ones who died in the great tribulation. Now you see, remember I told you that some are going to go through the tribulation and be saved? Some will get that opportunity. They have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb, and he has made them whole. And this is why they stand in front of God's throne and serve him day and night. So you see, folks, that explains a little bit of that too. And in chapter 17, verse 3, it says, so the angel took me in the spirit into the wilderness. This is John. Daniel was taking places. John is taking places. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. And John saw the beast too. And this beast that John saw had 7 heads and 10 horns. And blasphemies against God were written all over it. The woman wore purple and scarlet, and they were the colors of purity, I guess. And you see, it goes on and on. And in verse 20, verse 12, chapter 20, verse 12, it says, I saw the dead both, I think I read that to you, I'm sorry. But I'm going to read it again. I saw the dead, both great and small, standing before God's throne. And the books were opened, including the book of life. and the judge will judge. So you see, folks, the things we're seeing in Daniel are the things that are in Revelation. You know what? I'll bet, I don't know, every year I read through the Bible. Every year. It takes about 8 months now, because I don't read Proverbs every year, because I read Psalms, and I read the Psalms every night, so I don't read that chapter. And I labor through the Old Testament. And I got to Daniel this year, and all of a sudden, whew, it hit me. I never saw Daniel. All I saw in Daniel, as I said before, was a fiery furnace and the lion's den. I missed all this other stuff. All that was to show us that you have to stand for your faith. You have to have the guts and the courage and the strength and the commitment to stand for Jesus Christ no matter what. Daniel taught us that. He also taught us that arrogant kings and powerful kings and nations aren't going to make it. But he also ushered us in and is telling us about the wonderful kingdom that's part of our life. Okay? I'm going to show you a video, then, and you can cut it off now, Adrian. I'm going